All right, welcome one and all. I say that because I have literally one person viewing right now live. So, welcome to you. But that's okay. I had to change my broadcast time, so I fully expected that there would be minimal people watching live, but hopefully more will join us along the way. But welcome to the live recording session of How to Thrive in IT. I do have a favor for those of you watching live before we actually start the recording session part of it. If you are hearing any weirdness in my voice or anything like that, let me know. I know there's probably some little bit of kind of an echo kind of a thing that I'm getting every now and then, but yeah, I'm doing some revamping around here, and so literally, I was hoping that a new microphone would be here today. It'll be here tonight, and so that's the way that goes sometimes. Um, but yeah, so there's some other things we'll be shifting around eventually, I'm sure. But as I get more and more serious about doing this, because I'm having so much fun uh, creating this podcast, I spend way too much time in production, y'all. I really do. I have an assistant that's helping out with some of it, but by and large, it's fun for me to do this stuff, and I don't know why, but it is. But anyway, so in any case, if there's any weirdness with the voice, please let me know, and I will try and make adjustments on the fly here. Yeah, a little echoey, and that'll be solved in post, I guess you could say. But I didn't want to drive things too hard or get too much like distortion kind of thing. But I appreciate it. So if you hear any of that during the broadcast, just let me know and I'll make adjustments midstream. Sometimes I get to talking louder with my broadcast voice and, that sort of thing. um, I say that because I listened to the recording from last week and I was like, I can't work with that. It was doing all sorts of weird stuff. Turns out there was some software that was trying to interject things. And I'm like, that's not going to work. And so I'm making some adjustments, going back a little old school, actually. So we'll see how this goes. But in any case, glad to be with you today. How this works is that this is a live recording session. So feel free to enter any thoughts into the chat and that sort of thing. They'll show up on the screen eventually, and I may address them even during the broadcast as part of like making it flow in. But the idea is it is a podcast recording, and so it's not addressing things live. And then once we're done with the recording part of that, then I will stop the recording, I guess you could say, and we'll go into a time of Q&A. If you have any questions or thoughts that come up and that sort of thing. And then the really fun part, we will have a time of creating a song for the episode, a theme song, with our friends at Suno. And so we'll be having some fun with that today. So be thinking about a quirky kind of uh, style of music and any kind of themes to interject into that to tell the AI what to generate. Be thinking of that as we're going along today. But with that, we're going to have about 10 seconds or so of silence so I can know where to mark it, and then we will get started. So thanks for being here with me once again live, and let's get into this.
How we thrive. This is how to thrive in IT. In
IT. All right, welcome everyone to another episode of How to Thrive in IT. My name is DJ. Great to be with you here today, and we're going to do our very best to give you some value today. I hope that this is I think will resonate well with a lot of folks today. But we are going to be talking about a common challenge that I dealt with in my life, and I saw other people deal with, and that is being voluntold to learn a technology. Let me explain what that, or maybe even start that over a little bit, I guess you could say. being voluntold to learn a new technology. So you are being asked to learn something that no one else has volunteered to learn. And so you are being told to volunteer. Now I've moved to Tennessee, which is the volunteer state. Go Vols and all that. But this is a kind of a different thing. This is where you don't necessarily want to learn something new, but you've been told that this is a priority. And in my case, I hate to say this, but this literally came down to a golf game. The owner of the company had a golf game with a lawyer, and they were talking about this new technology that they wanted to implement, and it was called Citrix. Pause for dramatic effect. If you know anything about me, you know that Citrix has been really a huge part of my life for since 2024. Obviously, I'm telling you exactly when it started. But the notion was that no one else wanted to do it. And so he came to me, the new guy, and said, "Hey, go learn this thing. We're deploying next week." What? Okay. And so there was somebody else there that was kind of doing it, but I was told to go learn it and be the expert. This is something that I think resonates with a lot of folks that are in information technology, where there's either something that's been top down from management, or in some cases in larger organizations, you might have like an architect or a director of technology or CTO that has told you that you are going to be the one administering this technology, or in some cases, even learning how to deploy it, like engineering the solution. And sometimes, actually, a lot of times, let me back up a second. The reason I'm doing this episode in the first place is because I was thinking the other day about how many times I was out in the field doing consulting work from 2011 to pretty much now. I mean, I'm not in the field anywhere near as much these days, but when I was being sent to a company, there was typically one of two things that were going on there. Either they had an established Citrix presence and they knew what they were doing, and I was just there to basically do a health check and make sure everything was good from a vendor perspective. It was kind of like their insurance policy kind of thing. In fact, a couple of times it literally was, if they were going to get insurance, they had to have me there to kind of sign off on everything being within accepted practices and compliance and all those kind of things. And so, rough position to be in. I recognize that, but I would say the vast majority of projects that I did, especially towards the end of my consulting career, was largely with people that were concerned because they had never even heard of this stuff before. And in some cases, we had recommended training and things like that. But you know how it goes with new technologies and new trainings, that it gets kind of swept under the rug. You got a bunch of other things you're doing, and you just didn't take the time to do the self-paced course. In some cases, there were those that there was like a boot camp kind of a thing that they were signed up for. And it kind of worked. They got a knowledge of what at least the technology was doing at a high level, which is better than nothing. But there were many, many times where I would pull up to a company, walk in the door, and go to the conference room, and some people would come and sit down. And sometimes the first thing out of their mouth was, "You're who? You're DJ with who? What's Citrix?" It happened. It happened a lot. Embarrassingly, a lot of times. It's actually why in my book I actually describe a process of yeah, I just realized something that I need to administratively make a change, and I'll kind of do that on the fly here. But a resource I want to give you guys this week, but I will work on that in the background here as I go along here. Brilliant, Deej. Brilliant. In any case, the notion was, in these kind of cases, that there was a a pre-knowledge that was necessary for these kind of things, and that has not been what is not done well in a lot of technology companies that are not technology companies. I'm just batting 1,000 a day. My editor is going to have a field day with this one. The idea is that there are a lot of companies out there that the technology is new. They don't have the resources to have somebody dedicated to it. And so someone will be voluntold to learn that. Now, as you know, my whole goal with this podcast is to teach you how to thrive in IT. And I think that is one of the areas where I saw a lot of people struggle with this. And so there are some tips that I have for you today, some technical, but mostly just from a mentor standpoint. This really is that part of the M's today. We're really going to be focusing on mentoring with this one. I'm just going to be telling you the things that have worked and not worked. And ultimately, it's up to you whether you're going to be a person that embraces this or not. And so that's what this is going to look like today. So let's get into the first little bits of this. I think I'm going to split this up into sets of tips. The first one is if you are struggling with the notion of having to learn a new technology, there's a lot of times there's things that are behind that. And what I find probably most commonly, and I've heard a lot of in these times that it's come up, is a reluctance to want to learn new things. Why do we have to do this? This is something I've heard a lot of. What does this do for us? Is another thing I've heard of. I was actually a bit critical of a certain technology company yesterday on LinkedIn, actually, for this kind of reason. It's like basically just like, hey, we have new stuff. It's shiny. Isn't it awesome? I'm like, you're not helping explain why this is important. You're just saying that it is. That doesn't work for people that are always being inundated with this stuff. But the reality is, just me saying from a mentor to you, that embracing change is hugely critical as a success mechanism for you to be able to thrive and move on in your career. So you need to discuss the, discuss is probably the wrong word. What you need to do is stay current in the technology because it moves on, but recognize that the why of that, why you're doing it is one, to advance your career. Yes. But the idea here is that you really want to be a solution provider. And that is really how to get promoted into like a leader position, get, into whatever your career is going towards, whatever you feel your direction is. That willingness to embrace change is just so necessary in technology. But if you're always on the being pulled side instead of the side of being pushed, then you're going to find some challenges in your career. So really, it is kind of a mindset shift of being one that says, yes, I'm going to embrace change, understand it, and learn why it's important, and get pushed towards that as a way to go things. So the other thing here is that really working with your management to agree on a mechanism for learning a new technology. What I'm finding a lot of is that many managers don't fully recognize your workload. And so it becomes vitally important for you to be able to say, okay, I agree. We will learn this new technology. And what you need to do is set some hard agreements. We kind of talked about this in a prior episode, actually, about the difference between agreements and expectations. And just to refresh our memory here, expectations are fluid. You may have one set of expectations or what you think are the other person's expectations, but they have other expectations that might differ and might change over time. So the important thing to recognize with that is that you need to be very proactive about getting an agreement. An agreement is written down, it is reviewed by both sides, and in some cases, literally signed. When you go to buy a house, there's an agreement with your mortgage company, right? And that's a long document that has lots of, we'll do this, you do this, that sort of trade back and forth, and then you both sign it. And there's an agreement. There's a mortgage, a death pledge. Wow, that was dark. But it's in terms of you being proactive with this, and saying, okay, let's learn this new technology. Okay, I agree that I'll be the person to do this, and what I'll need to do this is a few things, and this is where you're going to say, okay, I need someone else to cover the time that it will take for me to learn and in some cases deploy this. If you just put this on top of my regular workload, I don't know how this is going to work because I'm already overworked. I don't know a single person working in IT that isn't already at the max. That's like what we do. We push it to the max and beyond all the time. So adding another technology in is only going to give you stress if you don't have an agreement with your leadership that it needs to be, okay, if this is going to be something I'm responsible for, I have other responsibilities that need to be shifted away from me. Otherwise, this is not going to work. And do we agree that that is true? Now, if they don't agree that's true, then you're in a little bit of trouble here because you have not really fully communicated with your management what your workload looks like, and you need to go back and say, okay, let's review here. This is what I've been doing, and this is how much time it takes, and this is where I'm at. You're asking me to do this, it's not going to work. That's what there needs to be a win for them to say, this is not going to work. And by the way, when it comes to forming these agreements, one of the things you need to know is when. So if there's a timeline for this, and if you're being voluntold to learn something, there's a timeline. And what they'll say in a lot of cases is, well, when we get to it, it's not a priority right now. Lies. There are lies and there are darn lies. And that's a darn lie. Every time. Every time. It's something that's, I don't want to stress this person out, and it actually is due next month, and my director is going to be, on my case, or my CEO is going to freak out that we bought this and we haven't been using it, that comes time for that quarterly review, and they're going to be freaking out on me. And so that's what they're thinking. But they may not say it to you because they're thinking that it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. I'll just put this on Susan and she'll be able to handle it. No problem. It'll be fine. That's their expectation. The agreement needs to be, no, we need a date. When does this have to be done? The reason we ask for that is because we need fuel for what I just said earlier about being able to make the time to actually learn this stuff. If you don't have that in advance, update your resume. I hate to be so crass about it, but at the same time, it's really hard to learn new things if you don't have the time and the mind space to be able to do it. That's just the honest truth. We're not wired to just, well, I'll just have this thing and it'll just magically just be part of what I do. No, we're not wired like that. We don't learn like that. Vast majority. And gonna get me to some preachiness here, but one of the frustrations I have in information technology, and this is true for me because I don't know how to do it better without massive amount of the cost. So I get it. But the vast majority of people that are in information technology do not learn by just reading, and they don't learn by just watching or listening. They learn by doing. Well, what's the one thing I cannot do with you today? I can't sit with you and do this. I take that back. I can. But you can't afford me. And your company probably doesn't want to afford me either. It's a challenge. It really is a challenge. So what it means is that you need to be able to set aside the time to be able to fully not just take a course, not just do a boot camp, although a lot of boot camps are great because you actually do get to started and doing things. A lot of times I'll have a lab and things like that are great. And I fully encourage you, if you're having to learn the new technology, find out if that's something that you can integrate into your learning strategy, because honestly, it's just important for you to know. Now, if you are one of those people that are very blessed and can do something like read one of my books and be like, oh, I've got it, great. But the honest truth is, a lot of people need more than that, which ironically is exactly why I wanted to bring up today's, I guess you could say, sponsor. But when it's me, it's hard to say it's a sponsor. But that's the whole point here, is that it is I'm kind of my own sponsor for my own show, if that makes sense. Um, so let me. Oh my! I totally just botched this here. Awesome. Way to go, Deej. My editor is going to be just so happy with me. It's like, oh, what is this section? What are you doing, Deej? What are you doing? But in any case, I can't find the link. Oh my goodness. There it goes. Okay. I do apologize. What happened is I had one set of or like a thing I was going to put up on the screen and everything like that. And so what I need to do here is adjust. So how do I do this? I need to. This is fun. Add that. Add that. And all right. So we're going to replace it with that one. That was last week's. Oh, here we go. Okay. So what you're going to do is, if you are a person that is been promoted into a role where you need to be an architect or something like that. I mentioned earlier being a consultant and having to go into places and assess. This is done internally all the time. And so let's say you're an engineer that has just been promoted to an architect, and you realized one of your roles with that is that you need to now assess what is there in the company and the kind of the direction technology wise going forward. There's a lot of people that have been promoted into a team lead position where this is also true. And so what I wanted to do is give you a resource here that is actually an advanced course. So keep that in mind. Again, it's one of those things where it is kind of difficult for me sometimes to just teach, but it's easier than just reading words on the page. It's a little more interactive in that sort of way. But there is a self-paced course that I have that teaches you how to assess and present and document your findings in a professional way that actually makes sense for the long haul, but it's also exactly what made me a successful consultant. So I wanted to share this with you. So what you're going to do is go to thrive-it.com/ITAPD, and you will be able to enroll in a course there that will be beneficial for you in that regards. And so, yeah, so you'll just be able to, there's a little video that you can play there and stuff like that. But we'll jump back into this at the end here, and we'll go back over more about this. But that's my little awkward segue into our episode sponsor for today, thrive-it.com/ITAPD for the complete confidence in IT assessment, presentation, and documentation. But for now, let's get back into the episode, shall we? So there's a couple other things that you need to know when you have been voluntold. And that is that you need to have a sense of ownership. And that's a buzzword that says it's on you. That says, you know what, this is your gig now. I guess you could say that it is a incumbent upon you, I guess you could say, to be the one that is going to lead in this kind of way. And again, I don't want people that are just surviving this and it's like, oh, it's been put on me and I'm a victim. No, I want you to have an attitude of ownership where this is something that you're going to take on and say, okay, let's get excited about this. And a lot of times, for me anyway, if I don't understand why it's being done, it's hard to take ownership of something that I'm not behind it being done. And the reality is there are very few technologies out there that are deployed just for the sake of being deployed. And now it does happen from time to time. There are things that are just like, we want this because it's pretty, or we want this because we have a member of our board that told us we had to do this. Anything that's compliance related is often like that. But when you look at why compliance things, for example, are in place, you realize that it's there to protect either your company, which means your job, other people's information, which I would hope that you have an attitude like I do, where you're watchful for things that would compromise other people's information. I'll give you an example. I ask for people's contact information all the time. It's very common for me to do that in the systems that I run. I'll need an email address and things like that. Now, do I go off and just let everybody have access to that? Heck no. Am I like hawkish about protecting that information? You better believe it. And there's a why behind that. It's not just for my survival. I care about you. I care about your privacy. And so there's no way, there's no amount of money that anybody could ever give me to just surrender that information. Not a chance. If it's something that they want to present to you, it comes through me. And I decide if it's something worthwhile to share with you, right? That sort of thing. But I don't ever want that to be. So that's a why, right? That's a core value of mine. And so for you, when it comes to deploying a new technology, I want you to have that level of care and understand why it's important. Otherwise, you're just not going to want to learn it. It's not going to be a priority. And so that really becomes a huge part of that. And so the way I personally learned through this is by putting it into a story. And sometimes it is something that's just a new technology where it lets people work more easily, and finding that story. For me, the story became clear. It's kind of funny when I think about this. I hadn't been really mentored to do this or anything like that, but at the same time, nobody else wanted to learn this. And I was like, oh, what is this stuff that nobody wants to learn? Is it really hard? Yes, it kind of was. Back then, it certainly was. But I immediately started asking the question of, okay, why? Why is this so important? And then it was explained to me that these folks that were requesting this the ability to be able to just work from anywhere. For one, a lot of it were litigation cases where they had these massive databases of documents and things like that. There was no way that they could take that on a laptop with them. And further, it was being updated all the time. It was being, people were they had teams of people that were scanning documents into this system. It was unreal. Like literally in one law office, they had like 2 lawyers, but they had 6 people scanning information into this database. It was something I'd never seen anything like it. And honestly, since I haven't seen anything quite to this level of operation for the scale of the number of people that were actually working there, of doing that much scanning of documentation. But that was that day and age. And so once I understood that was a big part of it, that was one thing. But then there was another component of this, of them being able to, their time was money, right? And so for them to be more effective meant they could charge more time. And so if they could have remote access, they could work from pretty much anywhere, right? So it became very important to them, and being able to deliver that, made sense. And so all of a sudden now it's not just some thing I have to learn. It became something I wanted to learn. I was like, this is cool. I want to learn this. I want to learn how make it so that somebody does a thing on their computer and they're controlling a server remotely. That's kind of cool. But I digress. Just so many things that are like that. In this day and age, I'm finding a lot of it is true of like VPN solutions and even some cloud-based delivery. And in some cases, there's a lot of, I hate to say this, but there's a lot of, we need to figure out how to make AI work for our company. Yeah, actually, I was hoping to be ready to tell you, but this will be next time. I think I'll be telling you about a podcast episode that I was part of that we talk about that, about how that's becoming a thing and how that's really a challenge. And so I'll probably even do a follow-up episode here as well. But regardless, a lot of things that are like that just, you need to find out why they're important, and they're going to get stickier. They're not. That's just the honest truth. There's things that I've had to learn that did not stick with me. Cisco networking did not stick with me. I did not enjoy that. I got through it and I learned it and I understood why it needed to be done. And at the time and season that it was, I went through the whole learning and even went so far as to start the certification process and that sort of thing. But the why was that company needed to be able to sell and service it. It wasn't my why, but and I found a way to eventually offload that to someone else, which is probably something else we need to talk about here. But I tell you what, I'm going to take a moment to gather my thoughts on that, which is the perfect time to introduce our resource of the week.
Variety brings the heat, something new every week. Get ready to click and see something awesome for you and me. Resource of the week. Oh yeah, resource of the week. What will it be this week? Get ready to take a peek.
All right, so I've been talking all this time about a lot of Citrix technology and things like that, and the world has changed quite a bit. And we have now tons of different technologies that do end-user computing. And how do you survive in an ecosystem like that? Well, one of the resources that we're talking about this week is a conference that lets you do just that. So this is what we call the EUC Unplugged. Yeah, I'm gonna kill that. Oh my gosh. That was longer than I remember it being. Anyway, we'll try that again. Have to fix that in post, I guess. In any case, the Masters Retreat is going on November 7th to the 9th, 2025. We've already had ours for this year. We had to move the date to next November. What this is we used to call this Masters Retreat because it's very much like a thought forward event. It's very much like we gather, we decide what topics we're going to talk about. There's no agendas going into EUC Unplugged. It's whatever everybody that's gathered there wants to talk about the most. And so we gather the first day and we vote on what things we should be talking about throughout the weekend. And it's just a wonderful thing because it means that, again, there's no agendas. And so if everybody wants to talk about AI, we have sessions on AI. If you want to present a session on, how to grow carrots in your backyard, people might want to see it. And so you put it up on the board and people vote for it if they want to see it or not. And if there's enough votes, then you do your session. And I say carrots in the backyard because there actually was one we did at one point that was kind of like that. We've had things that are like, how to learn about wine. And then obviously, lots of things that are popular are like, let's learn how to, balance our our lives in technology, and how do we learn these new technologies and all these kind of things that are like that. So I encourage you to sign up for this if you are in that space at all. Get around peers that actually will not only be at a level of mastery and mentoring that are high up, but realize that we are all peers, and so we are able to help each other out and learn from each other. I've learned plenty from people that are just starting out in technology, and so it doesn't matter what level you're at. You should definitely make it a point to be at the EUC Unplugged November 7th to the 9th, 2025 in gorgeous Sedona, Arizona. In fact, I'm wondering if I can make a trip over there soon myself. Be nice. But if you go to thrive-it.com/EUCMR, you can get registered. There are very limited spots. It sells out every year because there's only a specific number that we allow in. We literally do not allow this to become bigger than roughly 100 people. I can't remember what our limit is for this year. I'll find that out if we need to. But and I don't really. I just realized oh boy, whatever. thrive-it.com/EUCMR. That is your resource of the week. Batting 1,000 this week. Speaking of networking, that actually is something when it comes to learning a new technology that is, I believe, absolutely crucial. I don't know, especially if it's a major technology that has its own kind of ecosystem to it. There's always communities around that you can join. I would say for my part that when I realized that there were communities of folks that were doing the Citrix technology and VMware and a lot of the other technologies that were going on at the time in like the early 2000s, mid 2000s, I should say. When I started joining those communities and joining what they were doing, I got new perspectives, learned about new vendors that were supporting that, new solutions that worked. And it was amazing, the acceleration at that point. Once I started, well, there was an early version of the Citrix user community that was actually, let's just say that it didn't work out quite as well, but it was a great excuse to go and do some bowling and drink some beer and talk to people and that sort of thing. But it had the effect of getting me really fired up about the tech. And so that was actually an accelerator for me. That's where I was able to talk to people and realize that there was a path forward in this, and that I got excited about that path and I went for it. When I started out with this, I'd say about 2006, 2007 timeframe, maybe even as late as 2008. I knew the tech, but I didn't have any credentials. I didn't realize that was a thing. I didn't realize that there was a way to be promoted to like more of an architect kind of a role. I was really just doing engineering work and just making it happen. I didn't have a good methodology or anything like that. I just was, doing the thing. So when I realized that there was a lot more money that I could make as well, that was a big thing for me. That became a driving force with that. But without that networking, without finding some mentors to talk to about career path and things like that, that wouldn't have happened. And so when you're being asked to learn something new, that's really a critical piece for you to be able to get into it and get into the community that's surrounding that. And so super important. So the other thing you need to work through, and again, this is where I was talking about earlier with the setting kind of the agreements and the boundaries. If you don't do that, then you will risk burnout in that. when you're always having to learn something new and everything's constantly changing, there does come a point where that gets fatiguing. And it's an episode for another time, but it is something where I am seeing some that are successful and some that are not. If you're the one that is voluntold every single time, there is a problem. And a lot of people think that that's going to be fine. It's going to be okay. You love learning new things sometimes. But the reality is that you might end up a lot like I did, where you get burned out and there's just like no more new information. I'm done. I don't want to learn anything new. And that was even within the technology itself. There comes a point where you just kind of burn out and your brain doesn't work like it did anymore. It's not just about feeling stressed. It's that literally you are not as effective as you could be because you just literally your neurons aren't working like they're supposed to because they've been quite literally, I don't want to say overworked, but there's a method in working and learning new things that well, for me, it gets stuck into a pattern of always learning and not doing. And so I never had the time to really, you know, do the stuff. And so what I learned was that I needed to kind of just have a set of things that I was good at and define that. And then making that the thing is all that I would learn new things about and rely on others to do that, which is the other part about networking sometimes is to say, I have this challenge. I need to go to other people. I do this all the time. And the funny thing is, if you go back to episode 1 with the imposter syndrome, there is a challenge here, and that is not feeling like an idiot. It's like, why did you know that? You're supposed to be big Citrix guy. You should know all that. Well, I know really well the things that I chose to know really well. And sometimes just other things that come up that aren't my level of expertise. And I need to recognize that and rely on the shoulders of others and be okay with that. And sometimes I need to make them okay with it. But the reality is that we need to realize that there's a limit to what we can really truly do. And so, in those cases where you are being asked to learn multiple technologies in a year, really getting those agreements is first, but also it's so critical in those kind of cases, especially to have the right work-life balance and boundaries set up to where you're not on all the time. And this is we're gonna get to preachy again. This is where things like the way DevOps has been deployed in a lot of places doesn't work. If you are having to constantly learn new things, deploy those things, and support those same things, and do so in a cycle of chaos, it's just not going to work. You're going to burn out. And so the things that I've seen most successful, and again, this is probably an episode that we need to do. I need to make some notes on this, but the honest truth is, there are companies that I've worked with that I've seen them successful because they have kind of like an A team and a B team. And whenever there's a new technology, that team will own that and do that new deployment, and then they'll support that, sure. But then when a new technology comes along, the B team is going to now learn and support that new thing. So they're not causing them to switch. Although, to a degree, I have seen that effective as well. So this is where it's a difficult balance. It's going to be what works for your size of company. There was a larger financial company that I worked with. This is going on about 10 years ago, I think, easily. But what they were doing is that they would have a project management team, I guess you could say, where anything new, they would deploy that, cross-train with some individuals, and then those individuals would take over support completely. And then that deployment team would go to the next deployment. And it kind of worked because they were just really good at managing projects, which in the financial sector is actually pretty important, believe it or not, to be not interrupting people that are supporting it. Having that real time support structure always there, and having a slow side by side deployment becomes really important for finance. Also for healthcare, I see a lot in healthcare too. Although, I have my own thoughts and dramas about healthcare, which is why I'm writing the book that I'm writing. If I ever get it done, but that's what it's all about is those kind of dramas in interpret or getting. Actually, that's the center of the book. Is he's being asked to or voluntold to learn a new technology. I just realized that's totally why it's on my mind, because I'm writing this book. Big surprise that I wanted to make an episode of this, but that's a key there. And then being proactive is the final tip, I guess I'll give you here. Again, if you are in a place of burnout, this is going to be really tough. And so if you want to be somebody who is going to thrive in their career, you need to realize that you are not like a superhero. You are a hero, but that doesn't make you superhuman. Realize the difference there is that, and I guess you'll just have to trust me as your guide who has been there and is handing off the cape to you, that it is vitally important that you take care of yourself and realize that you can't take on every new technology out there in the world. But watching the patterns and learning where things are going is actually pretty important, because if you are already kind of aware of where things are going, then when feature enhancements come out, and sometimes new versions, feature enhancements can be really hard to learn and adapt to. And so this technology that you've worked so hard to learn and master might just change. We're seeing this. I mentioned AI, but also in scripting languages and things like that. You sometimes see this where the standard will shift, and it's just a massive amount of drama for people to do. That's why they don't tend to make massive language shifts within scripting, scripting, programming, all those kind of languages. They don't tend to make big dramatic shifts all at once. They make smaller shifts. And that's the reason, is like you would just overwhelm people if they had to completely learn something new every single time. And so little things along the way, they may not be as splashy, they may not make for a great keynote presentation, but the reality is that is where it is helpful, I guess you could say, to be able to learn as you go along. But within that, I shouldn't say knowing what's coming. That's not right. Let's say getting a sense for where the industry is wanting to go. Another way to say this might be looking at the needs that are out there that are not being met. When I'm doing assessments and things like that, that's one of the things I'm always looking for. What are the workarounds? What kind of ways are people working outside of the system that you've deployed or developed that are impactful? And yeah, actually, that's a good way to say that. So you have, recognizing the needs and what the technology needs to do to cover that need makes you look for the technologies that are there. And if you are starting from that point of caring about that technology, you're much more likely to be proactive about it and want to learn that. You can volunteer instead of being voluntold, which is a much better position to be in a lot of times. An even better position to be in, by the way, is to have a suggestion for new technologies and to be able to recognize the gaps that are there. Now, let me bring this up again. This is actually why I wanted to talk to you about today's sponsor, which is me and my complete confidence in assessment, presentation, and documentation course. I actually put this together kind of as a add-on to the book Just Do This: A Simpler Way to Succeed in IT. It's drawn from that. I mean, the lessons are there in a way, but this course just goes deeper into my methodology. It teaches you how to conduct an assessment with multiple teams and how to schedule those out, how to set expectations with management. But from what I was just talking about, it also teaches you to look for those gaps, look for those things that people are basically telling you a story about what kind of things are going on currently that they're working around or they have frustrations with or that are going wrong or that sort of thing. And it lets you be able to say to management, okay, this is the challenge. This is what you should be doing about this. Here's how to do it. And so that method of presenting your findings is, I think, really key. I call it the magic paragraph. It is something where it is able to make you look just as professional as you very well should be. And so you're looking the part, not just being paid the part. And hopefully, acting the part will get you paid the part. Obviously, I can't guarantee that, but I do have a cool story about that, where there is someone who embraced this fully and was able to, dramatically change their career trajectory and literally like more than double their income. It actually, was that 4 times? I think it was actually 4 times increase in their income, just jumping, just by mastering these kind of ways to communicate to management. It became that apparent that they were in the wrong position. And, actually in this case, I think they went to a different company, but same kind of thing where they're recognized as, okay, you are not just someone who should be administering a server. You are somebody who should be helping us make business decisions about this kind of stuff. And so let's put you into that position. And that's exactly what happened to this person. And I've not really gotten permission to share their name, so I don't. But yeah, that's the consideration. So yeah, I'd encourage you, if that's something that resonates with you, that's something you want to do, then I would encourage you to invest in that. And so that's the way to do that. All right. Oops. So in conclusion today, just remember, when it comes to being voluntold, it's not the end of the world. Even if it's something you don't care about and won't want to do it, if you approach it from these standpoints and practice, remember, practice doesn't make perfect. Practice makes permanent. And so if we only think in terms of the technology, that is what becomes permanent. But if we think proactively about how this is done, if we think about how to actually learn new things, that becomes a life skill. That becomes something you can move forward in your career. I've got news for you. This is technology. It's gonna change. There's gonna be updates. There's gonna be new vendors. There's gonna be new things you're gonna have to learn. So if you don't get into the right place of being able to do so successfully, then you're always going to be where you are. You're always going to be a victim. You're always going to be the person that's just dreading going into work. But if you can embrace this, if you can make it to where you are fired up about doing this stuff, that is where you will truly be able to thrive. Cheesy, I know. Bear with me. It's been true in my life. It's been true in so many people that I've heard from after, going through my book and materials and whatever, and talking with me or being coached by me. I can't ignore it at this point. I can't say that it's not true. If you learn how to learn, you will be more successful. I hope this was helpful for you today. I hope this has been enriching to you. Yes. All right. Well, I want to thank once again our episode try that again. I want to thank our seasonal sponsor, which is the book I just mentioned, Just Do This. I need your feedback. And so what I am putting out there is a way for you to simply name your own price on my book, and the way you do that is by going through a little bit of a question that I have for you. And sometimes there's more than one question. It kind of has been varying lately. But if you go to thrive-it.com/current survey, and I'm going to hope that it's actually working this week. I just realized that. Yay. Okay. So that we'll call it like a reader survey or a listener survey, whatever it looks like. That is always going to be the link that it goes to. And if the survey changes, that link will change. But right now, I'm offering, if you give us some feedback on the podcast, on where you're at in your career, on what kind of things you are struggling with, so we can help you. What I'm going to do is say, here is a hardcover copy of my book, and you can name your price on it. As long as the cost of printing and shipping is covered, I don't care. So if that's like, what is it, $15, whatever that is, it depends on your area, I guess. But as long as you cover that hardcover that's worth $50, yours. My gift to you. That's how valuable your feedback is to me. So that's, yeah, you can feel free to do that. Big thank you to my publishing company, 11 Talents, for being the seasonal sponsor for this season, the episode. Actually, this is, I believe, the last for this season. And so we'll be moving on to a new season and a new sponsor. So yay, look for that. Awesome stuff. Well, I tell you what, everybody, it's been good to be here with you. I hope that you are able to go forward and thrive in learning new things and learning how to learn. So I'll see you next week for another episode of How to Thrive in IT. Bye, y'all. All right. So, yeah, thanks for bearing with me. Behind the scenes here, my notes went, bye-bye, and kind of did something else. So, yeah. Appreciate you. Yeah. Hope this is helpful for you. If you have any questions or any kind of scenarios you want to talk through, whatever, while I'm setting up for our AI song theme generation here, always a fun part of this episode or every episode. Yeah. Yeah. Hopefully it does. Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, so I'm going to create a song called, well, we're going to see if it can actually pronounce voluntold. Yeah, so it's going to be a song called Voluntold. If you have any suggestions for style of music, let me know. I think I have some ideas just in case, but and I think the one will probably drive me crazy, but we'll see. So if you have any song style suggestions, please do let me know. But learning new technology, vendors, being told what to learn. To adopt a learning mindset and mentoring. Embrace measuring. Yeah. All right. I'm seeing no suggestions in the chat for style of music. So, what was I going to say on this? All right. Well, this is kind of just a as much as I hate the genre of music, even though I live in Nashville, I shouldn't. I know, but I don't like country music very much. I don't have an appreciation of it as a lot of people do. So I think it's just going to have to happen. We're going to have to go with country. And yeah. Here we go. All right. do. And wow. It's chunking on it here. Well, it's starting off with folks, so this can't be all that bad, right? All right, let's see how this goes.
Folks say you gotta know the latest trends. Pick up the phone or tap on your friends. They'll tell you where the market bends. Old dogs can learn, it just depends. New tech's like a river, it never stands still. From vendor to vendor, uphill to the hill. Trust in your mentor, climb that hill. Learning and growing ain't no empty thrill. You get voluntold, just gotta listen right. Set your mind open, shine bright in the night. Follow the wisdom, don't put up a fight. Embrace the changes, step into the light. In between emails and conference calls, there's a lesson hiding in those office halls. Grasp what's new and break down the walls. Keep your eyes ahead, avoid the stalls. You get voluntold, just gotta listen right. Set your mind open, shine bright in the night. Follow the wisdom, don't put up a fight. Embrace the changes, step into the light. Yesterday's teachings won't lead today. Innovation's the road to pave your way. Seek out the guidance, don't delay. Rise with the dawn, seize the day.
No, I like it.
You get voluntold, just gotta listen right. Set your mind open, shine bright in the night. Follow the wisdom, don't put up a fight. Embrace the changes, step into the light. Yesterday's teachings won't lead today. Innovation's the road to pave your way.
You know, that wasn't half bad. I did forget a rule of mine though. I forgot this last week too, of having a the Thrive IT part of it in there. So if I do this, if I where is it? I had it. No. More notes being lost. Yes, I totally screwed that up too. Wow, where's my note? It's like a whole bridge section that I'd written for like being the standard. Here we go. I gotta adjust this obviously, but oop. Oop, 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 oop. But it's a country song, so we gotta go ain't. Oops. And then, oh yeah. The dash is so important. And then we'll say volunteer yourself today. All right. Oh, this is user error. I didn't, that doesn't regenerate it. Let's do this. Oh gosh, how's that gonna work? I think you can replace sections of a song. That's gonna be a lot more work. So if we really like that one, I will redo it. But what I'm gonna do is reuse the prompt. And we'll try this again. Because, fun. But I'll be honest, that was a really big surprise with me that actually got that. So let's see how it does with that. If it's probably gonna be very different, I'm guessing, just the way this kind of works. But
folks say you gotta know the latest trends. Pick up the phone or tap on your friends.
That's clangy.
They'll tell you where the market bends. Old dogs can learn, it just depends. New text like a river, it never stands still. From vendor to vendor, uphill to the hill. Trust in your mentor, climb that hill. Learning and growing ain't no empty thrill. You get voluntold, just gotta listen right. Set your mind open, shine bright in the night. Follow the wisdom, don't put up a fight. Embrace the changes, step into the light. And in between emails and conference calls, there's There's a lesson hiding in those office halls. Grasp what's new and break down the walls. Keep your eyes ahead, avoid the stalls. You get violento, just gotta listen right. Set your mind open, shine bright in the night. Follow the wisdom, don't put up a fight. Embrace the changes, step into the light.
Not too bad.
Ain't gotta just survive IT, you've gotta thrive IT. Tune in to Thrive, thrive-it.com. Volunteer yourself today. Thrive-it.com.
All right. Well,
Thrive-it.com. You can follow Luke.
that one right away. That would drive me nuts. It happens every now and then where it's like when words aren't quite right. And I just realized I totally like put an extra L in there. Because there's no way to just like make that pronounced, or we know how to pronounce it, we just don't know how to write it. Am I just going crazy? Am I just, now that I'm seeing that? Voluntold. Yeah, that's right. VOLUN. Nope, I have an E in there. That's what I'm doing. That's why yeah. Maybe we do it that way. Let's see how that generates. I'm going to have to do this quickly, and I might just have to have a follow-up with y'all. One more try. I'm going to delete. Actually, I kind of like that. I might. And then V2, the trash. Hopefully this won't make it like a weird pronunciation here. Yeah, it's struggling. Okay.
Folks say you gotta know the latest trends. Pick up the phone or tap on your friends. They'll tell you where the market bends. Old dogs can learn, it just depends. New tech's like a river, it never stands still. From vendor to vendor, uphill to the hill. Trust in your mentor, climb that hill. Learning and growing ain't no empty thrill. You get voluntold, just gotta listen right.
There we go.
Set your mind open, shine bright in the night. Follow the wisdom, don't put up a fight. Embrace the changes, step into the light. In between emails and conference calls, there's a lesson hiding in those office halls. what's new and break down the walls. Keep your eyes ahead, avoid the stalls. You get voluntold, just gotta listen right. Set your mind open, shine bright in the night. Follow the wisdom, don't put up a fight. Embrace the changes, step into the light. Ain't gotta just survive IT, you've gotta thrive IT. Tune in to Thrive, thrive-it.com. Volunteer yourself today. Thrive-it.com.
I'm sitting there talking on mute. Brilliant, Deej. Yeah, that wasn't bad. It definitely got the voluntold thing pretty well. So let's see how this one did it. Very similar.
Folks say you gotta know the latest trends. Pick up the phone or tap on your friends. They'll tell you where the market bends. Old dogs can learn, it just depends. It depends. New tech's like a river, it never stands still. From vendor to vendor, uphill to the hill. Trust in your mentor, climb that hill. Learning and growing ain't no empty thrill. You get voluntold, just gotta listen right. Set your mind open, shine bright in the night. Follow the wisdom, don't put up a fight. Embrace the changes, step into the light. In between emails and conference calls, there's a lesson hiding in those office halls. Grasp what's new and break down the walls. Keep your eyes ahead, avoid the stalls. You get voluntold, just gotta listen right. Set your mind open, shine bright in the night. Follow the wisdom, don't put up a fight. Embrace the changes, step into the light. Ain't gotta just survive IT, you've gotta thrive IT. Tune in to Thrive, thrive-it.com. Volunteer yourself today. Thrive-it.com.
Yeah, I've given a couple away here. Maybe that's a good thing. You don't want it to be too good.
You get voluntold, just gotta listen right. Set your mind open, shine bright in the night. Follow the wisdom, don't put up a fight. Embrace the changes, step into the light. Ain't gotta just survive IT, you've gotta thrive IT. Tune in to Thrive, thrive-it.com. thrive-it.com. Volunteer yourself today. thrive-it.com.
I can't think of a better way to end than that. Awesome. Yes. Let me know which of those you like better, version 2.1 or 2.2. I will include links there on the socials. So if you follow us on LinkedIn, that's the place to go to get those votes. I think. I don't know. One of these days, actually, I take that back. There is a mechanism for YouTube, but I just don't know if it's really enough people are seeing it when I post. I will start trying to do polls on YouTube as well. It is a functionality that is there. It's just a matter of people actually seeing it. So who knows? Maybe there's a way I can link that or something. I'll find out. But vote for your favorite, or hopefully this doesn't get a thumbs down for the entire episode just because you didn't like the theme song. I'm sure there's people out there that are like, they'll thumbs down something for one thing I didn't like, and I'm sitting there going, what did I do? I'm so horrible. But yeah, hopefully this will be a thumbs up for you, and we'll go from there. Awesome. Tell a friend. I keep forgetting to say that. Tell somebody about this podcast. There's only one way we're going to grow it, and that's through word of mouth. This is not something I have any kind of a budget for sharing. So word of mouth is all I got. So please do share it with a friend. Appreciate you. And we'll see you next week. Should be going back to Tuesday. Wait. Is next week the week? Stand by a moment. I believe. Are we into holiday break already? No, I will be here next week. It's the week after that I'll be out. So I will see you next week for How to Thrive in IT, another live recording, and your opportunity to vote on a admittedly horrible, but somehow equally awesome AI generated song based on our episode. So I'll see you all next week. Thanks for tuning in. Insert clever ending here.